Welcome to the December edition of the EuroTeams user group. My name is Chris Hord, and I'm here with Adam Deltinger and Vesku Nopanen. And we are going to be giving you a roundup of the last 12 months. We wanted to do something slightly different. Being this close to Christmas is a little bit harder on speaker availability, just because people have either gone on holiday or they've got a lot to finish off in their day-to-day jobs. So for anyone who hasn't attended our group, the European Teams user group was a new user group started in the beginning of this year by Adam and myself. Vesta joined us in September 2019. And this group is all about growing a network of Teams professionals in Europe. We wanted to establish connections with all of our peers who are all fellow professionals and give them regular opportunities for meetups and to ask questions and to ask us questions. But it is all, like, when we get to the root of the matter, about democratizing Teams knowledge and experience. We all know a lot about Teams. We all know a lot the different areas of Teams, whether that's about development or about security or about voice or about adoption. There is just so many areas in this wonderful application. And a little bit more about the group is that we embrace all backgrounds, all levels of experience, whether you specialize in one of those areas. It really doesn't matter to us. We like to have regular meetups, to come along, to talk it out, to hold sessions. And just a reminder, as we do each and every month, if you do want to speak the following month, then just email EuroTeamsUG at outlook.com. So today, as said, it's a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a Q&A session for the next hour. I'm going to be hosting it. I'm going to be asking the guys a lot of questions about Teams, about their experiences this year, what we should look forward to next year, and hopefully that will give some of you direction on where we are going, what the future of this group is about, to find out things like about Teams Fest, which we announced for April, and again, give you another opportunity to say that this group is going to be carrying on next year. We are really looking forward to it and to introducing new speakers. So just before we get underway, the first couple of things to note is that the next session is on the 18th of January 2020, so in the new year, and it will be returning to its normal format of having 2 sessions within the hour. Michael Pletner is one of the confirmed speakers already. We're about to have another confirmation in the next few days, so we'll tweet out about that. But if you do want to speak for February or March, we would again be happy to hear from you. The other thing, of course, is Teams Fest, the spring sessions. Now, we did a big event in October. This was a virtual summit called Oktoberfest. It had somewhere between 400 to 500 attendees, and I think we had somewhere around about 22 or 23 speakers. It was a very, very big success, a very, very high scores for both speakers, and was really appreciated in the community. The demand has been so high that we've decided to do this earlier again in April, and the confirmed date of that is the 1st of April 2020, which I think, if memory serves me correct, is a Wednesday. All 3 of us got a lot of requests to do this again, so we're more than happy to do so. We've already had a lot of speaker applications. If you have a look at Twitter, Adam, Vesku and myself are tweeting regularly with links to that call for speakers. So if you are interested and you want to come and do a session on Teams, or you're just getting into speaking and you want a platform to be able to talk, then please apply. The window is open to the 27th of January 2020. So you can all enjoy Christmas and the new year, come back and then maybe submit a session. So that's just
Chris,
it for the introduction today. Do you want to say anything, Adam, Vesku?
Yeah. Next month meet, was it the 18th you said? I think it was the 21st, because the 18th is a Saturday.
Okay, sorry. It's the 21st. I did. You did say to that me earlier today. So the 21st. So that's on a Tuesday. We normally have been doing these on the last Thursday a month, but we're moving them to Tuesday, again, to accommodate for feedback that we've been getting. So the 21st, if you just have that date in mind. So before we get underway, Adam, Vesku, is there anything you just want to say?
Yeah, I know why we were confused about the 18th, because that's on the date we were talking about on February.
That's right. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, but so kind of a heads up for some people here, so you know what's coming up. Well, I don't know. Sorry. Do you, Adam, want to start? I was just clarifying about the date.
Yeah, of course. So,
Adam,
we'll get
anything before we get started and give Chris, before we kind of take this to sideways and start making jokes and break the structure.
Let's start off, right? No, enough shit.
All right.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, I'm going to run through the, like I say, the series of questions, and Adam and Vesku will be taking it. At the end, we'll also have a Q&A session as well, in case any of you want to ask questions of all three of us. So I'm going to get into it. So we'll start with Adam, and each of these questions will go out to both. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your first experience with Teams was.
Yeah. Well, I work as a modern workplace consultant. I'm having trouble to tell people what I really work with. I usually say just a modern workplace consultant. That's the most easy. I helping people to adjust to modern ways of working, changing their behaviors, and do their work in a more modern and effective way, and get the effectiveness of collaboration with collaboration tools, etc., etc. So that's what I'm normally doing. I'm also doing a lot of community work, of course. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I do a lot of participating and contributing in the tech community as well as running this user group, etc., writing blogs and stuff like that as well. And I started working with Microsoft Teams about, 2.5 years ago or something like that, when it was still very new. And actually the product that got me into the world of adoption and collaboration, all the collaboration pieces as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got into Microsoft Teams.
Awesome. How about you, Vesku?
Hello. So I'm a pretty in a quite similar working structure as Adam is. I've been a principal consultant in the modern workplace more or less for over 7 years now, and I just switched to a new company called Sulava. Or the company isn't new. Me being there is new, but I'm continuing my work with Teams and modern workplace and creating better work life in there. So it's the same thing: collaboration, document management, how people are going to be using these systems, how they are going to benefit out of them. And of course, consulting on the architectural level as well, and hopefully getting to a bit of business consulting as well. So I'm all around consultant there. So there isn't just one place. I started enterprise social media with Jammer. So that was something like that 7 years ago when Jammer was a hot thing. And eventually I got into Teams just about 3 years ago when it was new and it was in preview. Of course, we wanted to give it a shot and see how it can kind of cope to our needs and our project needs. So it was a pretty quick hookup and kind of see the potential once you got more colleagues in and you could start collaborating in a very different way. We were using Skype, of course, heavily on those days. and we have some old friends joining up as well, in case you hadn't noticed from the chat. Hello, Chris. Okay.
He's listening.
Hello.
He's a little shy, I think.
Yeah.
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
He's here. He's listening. He misses us.
Yes. Excellent. And yeah, so this is all about community. So that's kind of a meeting Chris Webb at Ignite again. It was great, and meeting these two guys and in live. We had been in touch for almost a year before we actually got to meet each other. So it was very excellent. So that's about the community as well. So yeah, we are doing that a lot.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah,
we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know it was working.
Here he is. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, doing good, guys. Just at work, getting some stuff done. You know how it is.
That's
I can see you growing with that beard as well. I'm trying as well.
Yeah, except yours
Christmas
isn't
and
all
everything.
gray like mine.
Not yet. A year or so. Yeah.
So guys, you've both been or have a background in Teams for a long time then. So, back when it was in preview, how do you think 2019 has been for Teams? Do you think it's been a successful year?
Oh yeah, you could call that a success when it was rocketing up all the time. So it was kind of amazing year for Teams, I think. I was just when you were hinting about these questions that what we should be talking about. I was just thinking that I can't even recall what was Team like a year ago. Teams, what were the functionalities, because so much is happening all the time with Teams. They're kind of all the new features, all the new capabilities, integrations are coming in hot all the time. So it's been quite a year for Teams, I guess. And of course, going kind of the competition with Slack is there as well. So there, it's kind of I see it's a bit fun and friendly kind of way. Okay, who's going to rule the party in here?
Adam, what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I think every year since I've been a good year for Teams, even though there has not been that many so far, but it's so much evolving product and so much going on all the time. So I mean, this year there's been so much, like a lot of great updates and features rolling out to Microsoft Teams. So I think maybe this year not particularly any much different than earlier years, but I mean, it's such a great product, so much happening all the time. So yeah, for sure, a great year. And
I think one of the big things about this year that's different, and you're starting to see it, and what I kind of thought was going to happen all along, when Teams first launched, it was really getting a lot of new features. It was strolling along as it was new, and then it kind of hit a low spot. And where that low spot was is when Microsoft finally decided, hey, we're going to take Skype and replace it with Teams. When they made that decision, you noticed a lot of the new features and stuff kind of slowed down. And then I think once they got that parity almost finished, now you're starting to see a lot more stuff towards the end of this year finally start rolling out as far as new features and things of Teams. So I think next year we're going to see even a bigger growth as far as new features coming into Teams that we didn't see before, because they finally finished that Skype roadmap for the most part. So, and you're starting to see that take off more, in my opinion, since that's got closer to parity. So,
and I think that they start putting their like whole story together as well, more and more. I mean, with all they have these all different kind of task services like Microsoft To Do and the Outlook tasks, and then they had Planner and stuff like that. And now they're trying to bring the story together. Now they're rolling out the tasks for Microsoft Teams, where they put all these things in together. And the same thing, like they had services like Kasala, and now it's going to be integrated into Teams. They're trying to consolidate and make sense of it all, right? So I think it was very much spread before, like all new features coming from here and there, and I think it makes more sense, and it's going to make even more sense when we hopefully sitting here in a year or so. And
sorry, Chris. One thing to add more is about what Teams has become during this past year is a platform. It's a kind of a platform where you can start writing your apps. You can bring in your business line of business applications. You can bring in bots and everything like that, even better than before. So it's kind of a following up. It's the hub for work in that sense, very much. And it's like you said about the integration, bringing things together. So it's a kind of things that has been very strong in the change during this year.
I think just even looking at the metrics has been amazing. I think somebody mentioned Slack, and I think the daily average users that was announced at Inspire back in July was 13 million daily active users, and recently I've seen numbers of 20 million daily active users, which is an absolutely massive jump. And from what you guys have said, that's because of the push from Skype for Business. That's because of the moves from Kaisala, the moves from Staff Hub, and as you said, Vesa, all of those use cases. That's I guess going back to Adam's point about this kind of this release of new features. Can you guys give me one or two things that you're looking forward to being released over the next few months? I mean, there was a bomb of announcements at Ignite. Is there a couple of features that you just think, right, this is going to take it to the next level?
I mean, the multi-window feature, for sure. I'm really looking forward to that one. And
task ones for me is the big one. I mean, obviously multi-window, I mean, that's a given, that's a UX thing, but as far as new features, the tasks integration is going to be awesome. And hopefully as it goes, I haven't dug too deep into it, but if you can assign people other tasks and things like that from within teams, not just yourself at some point, it's going to be huge. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, those and added with the Kaisala integration. I'm really looking forward what it's going to bring into this identity things. How do can we finally get something kind of the account management what we have on the in the Teams mobile, for example, where we can have multiple accounts in or something like that. It's not on any of the roadmap, so I have no idea if it's going to happen, but they are going to bring in some of the SMS login capabilities for first-time workers, for example. So this kind of stuff, I'm really looking for that. And on my endless wish list, I guess we all have a very long wish list, is that the performance stuff would be, it can always be better. It can go to be lightning small, but that's of course something I wish that would happen. So they are not just adding features, but also giving a consideration about performance part.
And that moves on to my next question. So my next question to you guys would be, what features that haven't been announced would you like to see? I mean, is there one area? I remember being in a conversation recently about the wiki in Microsoft Teams, and whether that should be continued or whether they should improve that, whether they should take it out and just use OneNote kind of going forward. Is there a feature like that you really want to see over the course of the next kind of year, if Microsoft could do anything to add to Teams?
I mean, when we're talking about the wiki, I mean, I think Microsoft need to figure out like what to do with it. Like either one, they just remove it, or they keep evolving it and make it, all the things people complain about, make it searchable, make a story. Like they have to find the story about wiki, like when are you supposed to use it, how. What they've done is integrated into like meeting notes and stuff like that, but still it's so much lacking. So I still don't recommend using wiki to my customers, because it's not that good. And I mean, how it's stored, not unsearchable and stuff like that. So because you mentioned it, I mean, I think that's an important point. They have to figure out like, what do we do with wiki and how should it be used? And then if they want to keep it, they have to figure out like, okay, and actually improve it in many ways. Otherwise, I think it's just better to like do something else or just remove it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and how about you other guys? Is there any other features like that you would like to see come in this next year?
Federation version 3. So for example, now that we are in this meeting, it would be very handy to be able to drag in files and have all the capabilities we have in an internal Teams meeting, for example.
I thought when native came out, V2, we would at least get the full chat capabilities inside of meetings when we join them, as far as GIFs and everything else and reactions, but you still can't do that cross tenant. You have to be in the tenant as a guest to do it. So
how do you guys feel like 2020 is going to be the year that we see multi-tenant in Teams? There's been a lot of calls for it.
Probably halfway through, if not Ignite next year would be my guess. We start actually getting some good traction there. A few things that I would really like is cross channel for between private teams, something like that, where you can communicate across multiple teams that are private without having to invite people to random teams, or kind of work through private channels in weird ways. But I think something like that would be good as far as a new feature that I would want to come out.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And also improving the private channel features in many ways, of course. In
what sense? In what sense?
For example, limitation that the members of the private channels also have to be members of the team itself. For example, that's something you like. People are happy about the private channels right now, but it's still quite a limitation actually. And
a lot. That was one
kind
of
of flips the way people really thought about it originally, how to set it up and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I think that would be really helpful to have that feature as well.
Because most people that wanted private channels wanted it for guests, where they could just bring in a handful, a subset of guests into this one channel, and that's it. Well, that's not the case with private channels. So
now you have to think of the other way around. You have to invite the guests to the team itself, and then have the confidential material or content in the private channel where the guests aren't a member of. So it kind of flips the whole story. And people already having a team with content spread all over, it makes it very it's a hassle, and people won't do it. Basically, they would just start a new team or something like that anyway. So instead of moving all content, you can't move the conversation in an easy way and such. So I think that feature would help a lot as well.
Awesome.
I know one of the features that's going to be huge if they do it this year, because it's been 2 years, it's been a top user voice, and one of them is the whole. I don't know why that muted. Anyway, it's talking about group calendars.
That was NDA cutout.
Do what?
That was an NDA cutout there.
Oh no, I'm just saying, in 2020, if they would bring out the user voices with group calendars or calendars of some kind inside of teams. You see that in the community all the time.
Yeah,
asking for calendar support. So that'd be something that would be good for 2020 if they would finally get around to doing that without having to inject SharePoint calendars or something like that. So
let's hope it's not following the private channel timeline.
Yeah.
Still waiting on the
files experience. Yep.
Yeah. Still waiting. Yeah.
Well, I just noticed Mark replied to the blog, I think, from the Ignite for the new feature, saying that they found a bug, and I guess they're finally back on rolling it out again. So it should be early January if everything's going good. So
yeah, that's perhaps the thing about the roadmaps with teams, especially. There's lots of things going on. It's kind of the best guess of when it might come out. And when people are starting to think that, okay, if it said November 2019, so it should come out at that time. And if it doesn't, then it's late or something weird is hidden there. It's just like you said, if there's a bug, of course they have to hold it back. There's something that hasn't been foreseen, so it's going to be released when it's ready, or at least releasable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I guess coming away from new features and what we'd like to see, Adam and Vesku, you both spoke at Ignite. That's just been and gone. We were all there. What did you speak on, and how did the experience go for you? I mean, you're both teams MVPs. You spent a lot of time with the product group. Chris, you're on teams MVP as well. How do you all find the experience, and where can they get your sessions and watch them online? Adam, if you want to start off.
Yeah, I can start off. Well, I had 2 theory sessions at Ignite. And one unconference session, actually. And the unconference session I did with Chris Webb, actually, which is on the call as well. And I had one theory session about teams, tips and tricks, 10 tips and tricks in 20 minutes. So I didn't think when I submitted that session, because I didn't really realize how like packed that session would be and how much time, like pressure that would be to fit in 10 tips in 20 minutes. So I was quite nervous about that one, and I did a lot of dry runs to actually make that happen. So, but I did it. It actually worked out. So and it went well. It did. And I had another theory session about Microsoft Teams adoption as well, and I also thought that went well, actually. The conference session was really exciting because it's the first time they had that kind of format on the Ignite. So me and Chris Webb did this thing where we were talking about team structuring and organizing your Microsoft team. And yeah, a lot of people actually showed up, and I think it went pretty well, actually. And I mean, of course, the whole experience of speaking at Microsoft Ignite was like overwhelming. Of course, I mean, I was very nervous. I've done some speaking before, but I mean, yeah, not with this
Not on the
kind of
official
audience.
level of
Yeah,
Ignite,
exactly.
right?
So, the experience was awesome, but very nervous, of course. But as I said, I mean, all 3 sessions I had went. I think they went well. I'm happy with them, for sure.
Chris, would you have the on-conference again? Do you think there's something that they'll continue next year?
I don't know. I think so. I just think they need to market it a little better. And I've seen other people in the other on-conferences say it, because we had people come in that didn't really know what it was. They signed up for it thinking it was a regular session where Microsoft was going to tell them how to do something. And then we got some feedback and stuff that they were upset about that. And they left before even staying there and gave reviews. It's like, okay, guys, you didn't give it a chance, but we were nervous with it. I mean, it was something new. We didn't know what to expect ourselves. So we went in kind of with the game plan, but we were like, well, we're just going to let it roll, because that's what conferences are supposed to be, and we'll see what happens. But after our first slide and we first started talking and saying, letting them, guiding them on a subject to talk about, and it just took off. Me and Adam looked at each other and we were like, yeah, this is going to work. So, yeah. And it just took off from there. I mean, we could have just started with the first slide and probably just stepped back for 45 minutes and let it go. Like, it was that easy. They just kept going. We had to interrupt and then move on, but it flowed pretty good, and it actually worked pretty well. I think it did. So
yeah, I mean, we had
see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it was 75 minutes, but I think like time passed so fast, and we could have done that for at least, like, we couldn't have done that for 2 hours. I know that it's we can't really do that, and that it wouldn't fit the schedule of Ignite. But I mean that I think it's a really good format. But as Chris said as well, I mean, I think they need to announce it in a better way and what it really is. I mean, there was this guy, you remember that, Chris, that guy that came up and asked you what this was about. And you said, well, I think what was it? He wanted it to he thought it was about Microsoft telling people what to do. And stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was saying.
Away. And then he got into the app and reviewed the conference and set like lowest score on everything just because it wasn't what he expected. So I mean, that was
you and me. Two or three people. Yeah, 2 or 3 people showed up.
I got one too, because it was freezing cold, as if I had controlled the temperature at the OCC. Vesku, how about you? What sessions did you do this year?
This year, my first time as an Ignite speaker. Yeah, so I did the adoption sessions around Teams. The first one was aimed at was about the first line workers and how to get them hooked up into Teams. So more or less, it's about the best practices. In a sense, it was about the best practices on adoption wise anyway. It was about how do you kind of get to the right mentality? How do you find out what are the benefits for each persona in there, etc. So it was an interesting, unnatural session for me because I didn't have any demos on either one, and so it was just talking on these slides and hoping that people will understand, of course, what I'm saying. It's always the problem when you are English speaking. You're speaking English and it's not your native language, of course. And I know I can be way better in that, but eventually. at least in some year. But that was the first session, and then I got that repeated because so many people were originally hooking up. It was both were theater sessions, and it had a repeat on Thursday just before the actual Ignite party. So on the first one, I had perhaps 150 people attending in the theater, and the repeat of that had something like 6. So, so it was it was perhaps even more relaxed in that way. We've been doing some talking, so it's easy to talk to a smaller group perhaps, and kind of even step out of the podium and start talking to more or less to individuals. And of course, the second session I had was about how to ensure that Teams is driving the corporate strategy. So that was in the high level adoption session as well. So perhaps some people were expecting a little more different kind of input what you can get in 20 minutes, which is not that much. So I got a very mixed reviews in there. Some really liked it and came to talk to me afterwards, and some didn't. Like you had experience, they didn't like that at all. So it was a very interesting thing that I wasn't too much prepared for that part. Of course, preparing for the Ignite session is you do that because of course you want to look good on the stage as well, or at least the content to look good. And but yeah, it was it was great, as Adam you said. It was awesome, and I think it was a really interesting, and you can learn a lot from you when you are there and presenting to the totally different audience you have nothing about. It's because there can be so much variance in the audience. It's so the next time, of course, I know I have to prepare for my sessions, or at least the session descriptions a bit better. So hopefully it will fall in better in that sense.
And a couple of quick questions for each of you now. For everyone that's going to be watching this, that wants to or is thinking about talking about Teams or thinking about going to Ignite, what would you recommend for them? Just a couple of recommendations each. We start with you, Vesku, and then Chris, and then Adam. What would you recommend for somebody thinking about submitting for next year?
Check out the recordings or the presentations from previous year. They are available. You can go ahead and check them out. Check out about how people are presenting. And theater sessions don't have any video on them, but of course you can listen to the audio and check out some breakout sessions so you can see what's it like there. And I think I would do that a bit more. Kind of to prepare for myself, and then of course when you are preparing your session, try to think about that. What are the things where you are at best? So try to think about what you do and what do you want to tell the audience. Don't try to impress the kind of selection board or something like that.
Okay, Chris, how about you? What would you recommend for somebody thinking about next year?
Well, I didn't really submit any sessions, so I don't have any.
Now you know what to expect. What are you thinking?
Yeah, what are you thinking? I mean, what I mean, because surely you're gonna be submitting next year.
I think try to come up with something unique. Just a message that you can really drive home that might be different. I mean, just like Vesa was saying, look at what's out there and maybe try to find something new, something different that may not be talked about, some kind of spin on something, custom Power App or a way to integrate Teams with a different Power App or Power Automate, just something that you can really just wow people with, is what I'm going to try to come up with,
Yeah.
Kind of like my goofy session I did with you guys with the whole, OBS and live events and just trying to do some stuff people may not have seen before. So
but yeah, that's something like that I want to add in there. Like you said, think about something amazing or something unique. Is that start thinking now. Don't start thinking when the call for speakers opens. Start thinking it a few months ahead, at least a few months ahead.
Because the problem is we don't really know what they're going to talk about at the event, and Microsoft's going to cover the new stuff, so we can't really get go in there and talk about the new stuff. So we got to come up with some kind of cool, catch, sinker, whatever, something that's going to get people's attention that's not the new stuff, because a lot of people go to Ignite for the new stuff. So we got to be creative to come up with something using the existing tools to get their attention, that they're going to enjoy watching, that they're going to come away with something powerful from. So
Adam, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, there are two aspects of this. Is the first one is like getting to speak at Microsoft Ignite, right? Another one is like, okay, and how do you handle it when you're actually doing it? So I mean, as that was mentioned, is that about the subject of the session itself, and when it comes to that, I mean, it's a title and description of your session that's really important. Both getting to speak at Microsoft Ignite and also getting your audience as well. So, as said before, I mean, really think of something that get your attention, right? Get the attention, and I think that's really important. And I mean, also be sure to don't just pick a subject because it's a hot subject or something like that. Either way, you're not gonna do a good session if it's just something that Microsoft wants you to talk about, but you yourself are not that like invested into it. Make sure you do something that you have passion for, because you don't want to be on a stage and talking about something that you aren't passionate about. And people will know this. Microsoft will know this. The audience will know it. You yourself will know that while you're doing the session. That I mean, if you aren't invested in what you're speaking about, if you aren't passionate about that subject or topic or whatever, it will show. But of course, I mean, just don't think too much about it. I mean, I submitted my sessions and I thought a lot about my titles and description, and that's actually all I had. I didn't have any like material or content, whatever. I just created it after I was accepted as a speaker. I just thought, well, what do I really want to talk about? What am I interested in? What am I good at? And just kind of composed a really good title and description for that. And I mean, because of that, I had no trouble or issues creating the material and content afterwards, right? So be sure of those key points. That I will recommend doing that in that way. And I mean, just do it. I mean, don't overthink too much. I mean, if you want to speak it, just submit. The worst thing that could happen is that you get rejected, and that's not a fun thing. Tell me about it, but I mean, I mean, it's no harm.
Rejected. Yeah, exactly. Just before we go on to talk about the kind of the user group and Teams Fest next year, just again for the people who are watching, if there's one other, I guess, session that you would recommend people watching. I know that we all didn't get to watch many sessions at the actual event because we were so busy. If there's one other session you could recommend from Ignite about Teams, which one would you recommend? Let's start with you, Vesku.
I guess it would be your sessions. Yeah, I didn't got to watch any live sessions at Ignite, or except your guys. So I'm not kind of I don't have a good answer for that because there's so much material to go through, and when I was watching those, I can't remember. Okay, which one? So that's. I'm going to just pass it to Adam.
I think it was 200 sessions, I think.
Yeah, there's too much. Yeah, can't remember the names.
Adam?
I mean, if we're looking for team sessions, I mean, there are a lot of them. And I can recommend Ann Michael's session. I don't know what it was called. You know that, Chris. But I watched it.
So Teams Effectively.
Yeah. I watched that on demand. It was really good. But I mean, it also depends on what your interests are, because the Teams product or service is so big, and there's so many components to it. So if you're into the UC parts of it, the collaboration, the adoption, and the SharePoint parts or development. So depending on what your interests are, just go to the Ignite site on the community and search among the many sessions there and find the things that get your interest. Basically, that's my tip.
Chris, did you have a particular one that caught your eye, or like a choice?
Like many of you guys, we were busy doing boosts and everything else. I didn't go to a lot of sessions, haven't really watched too many yet, but one in particular I always enjoy is Matt Wade and his etiquette session. Because I mean, I help him with that guide and stuff a lot, so I went to his session, but he puts a lot of humor in that. He had the crowd chuckling up quite a bit in that session, and it's good content. I mean, just it puts a real world spin on what you should and shouldn't do inside of Teams as a user, you know. So I think that's a good one that you can share with just anybody in your organization using Teams as an adoption thing, especially the guide itself. So that, and just I always watch all the what's new, you know, the roadmap sessions, the Microsoft led ones for the most part. So the OneDrive one was really awesome with some of the sharing stuff that's coming out. I'd highly recommend that. The OneDrive, I think it was just OneDrive in general. I don't remember the exact name of it, but Stephen Rice did it with somebody else from Microsoft, and they got some really cool things coming with sharing, as far as where you can paste a link from any file inside of SharePoint to someone in Teams or email or whatever, and it automatically will share or open that link up to that person. So, because users, their first thing they do is copy the URL out of the bar and then send it to somebody, not thinking about permissions, and then they'll get access denied if it's from a public site or public location. Well, if they do that, it will automatically just share that file with that person where they don't have to think about permission. So I thought it was kind of cool. I forget what they call it. It's like just sharing URL links or automatic sharing. I don't remember, but go watch that. It's really cool.
Was it just a new sharing experience? Just like the new files experience, something like that?
Yeah, but it was a little different than that. It just automatically shared the stuff out. So I don't know. It was interesting. Just watch it. The OneDrive one with Stephen Rice. I thought that was really cool. So
what do you guys think about that Fluent thing with Teams, like working in real time with files from the conversation area in Teams and stuff? Have you seen that?
It's in preview now, the Fluid framework.
Yeah.
If I could pronounce it correct.
Who can? Yeah, but that's a great piece of technology, I'd say, because that's that has something like the GigJam had. Do you guys remember the GigJam? Or I'm the only one.
What did you call it?
GIG.
I think you are. I can't remember.
All right, but that was a kind of a emerging or garage project some years ago by Microsoft, and they were kind of be able to share parts of the document with the freelancers or somebody like on this before Teams even came out. So it was but it faded away. It was ended. But this kind of fluid stuff reminded me about it, because then you can take a piece of the document and paste it in and start editing. But of course, this is way more fluent and kind of this is way more user friendly, and so it puts the parts of the document there where you are working in. And that, I think, opens up really interesting possibilities. And then instead of sharing documents, you are just pasting parts of that and collaborating there. And let's see where the tool or the framework will take us. And of course, we have to start thinking about how we are going to use it.
Yes, of course. I mean, it'll be things to look forward to over this coming year. Just to move on now, because I know that that time is moving on, so I want to kind of stay on track. I think we're going to look at the European user group and about Teams Fest. So I guess the first question for you guys is that the European Teams user group has been running now for a year, since last January. We intend to obviously keep it going for a very long time. Has it achieved what it set out to do? And I think probably I'll direct this one at Adam to start with. Adam being co-founder of this group. I can't believe it's been 12 months already. It's gone so quickly. Do you think we've achieved what we set out to do?
I think so, but I don't think we're done or can do even more. So, I mean, we've had new people doing sessions for the first time, and that's I mean, that's much what it's all about, also. And I mean, we will continue to do this and give people more the opportunity to do more speaking, and of course, creating great content for everyone to watch as well. I mean, we set out doing this that we really wanted to reach out to people that are passionate about teams, then give them opportunities to also like be part of the community, to you know, do speaking as well themselves, even though they are. I mean, give the opportunity for people to speak, even though they don't have any prior experiences with speaking. I mean, many people think that I can't do speaking because I'm not the best of the best doing this. I'm not a great speaker or whatever. I mean, we don't care about that. We just want people to, you know, say, hey, I got this this thing about teams I want to talk about, and we give them that opportunity. So that's one of the main reasons we really started this user group. And of course, creating great content as well. I mean, and I really thought we think that we've done that. We have quite a few sessions now, especially from the Oktoberfest, and there's so much great content and great speakers in there. And I mean, for people now watching to watch on demand as well. So to answer the question again, real quick, I mean, yes, I think we've accomplished what we really wanted to, but I don't see the end of it here. I mean, we will continue to improve and to do better and give even more people opportunity to be part of the community as well.
Yeah, Vesa, what's your opinion? I mean, I think that I agree with Adam. I mean, I look back over the sessions last night on YouTube where we post up, and we've done sessions on development, adaptive cards, networking, adoption, live events. We've done it on direct routing. We've done it on apps. We've done it on attack policies. We've done it on Teams for Education. There has been a lot of broad subjects, and as Adam says, you know, sometimes these people, it's the first time they've spoken at a user group. You were one of the first, if I can remember, that actually spoke. I still remember Teams Kung Fu from earlier this year. It stayed with me. Are you going to be speaking for the user group again in 2020? And now that you're managing it with us, I mean, what would you like to see?
Of course, what I want to see, yes, I have mute off, is that to attract more people into these monthly meetings as well. That's kind of the, there's some people here, but the Teams Fest is kind of the king here, or the bright diamond in this user group. It's kind of bringing lots of people at the same time, and that was the marvel of that, because that was quite great feeling to have few hundred people showing up virtually online from various parts of the world together, sharing and listening about Teams. And of course, these monthly meetings are just as good if you are thinking about you want to start speaking, and then of course you want to participate in these. These are really easy to join in. This is kind of a Teams way to do it. We are coming from different countries, and think about that now that Adam is from Sweden, Chris Horde is from UK, and Webb is from US, and I mean Finland. We just have a very good community chat here, and that's kind of the beauty of that, really crossing borders. I'm having the live captions on because I also wanted to see how it can understand my language, because I have an heavy accent in English. So and I'm very happy to see that it's actually working very nicely. And things like that, what Teams can do, how it can help us to be together and think about new ways of working in a community-wise as well. So that's why I think that the EuroTeams is unique in that sense. We are trying to, and you guys invented it first, kind of bring in people together from different countries and cultures to share this joy of Teams in that sense. And we are just now pushing it forward and forward even more. So yeah, this is, I think it's going to the right direction, and I think this is the modern way. this is the one way that's going to be more common, because you don't have to travel, you don't have that problem. We can see each other way more often than we can see in real life, like face to face.
Absolutely. Which brings me on to the next question. We've got Teams Fest, which is spring sessions coming up. It's on April the 1st. What made me laugh out loud was that when we posted it on Twitter, people were saying, was it an April Fool's joke? And you bunch of jokers, and and of course it's all that about the European versus the US dates, and people asking us if this is in January and stuff, which also made us laugh. Teams Fest was like Oktoberfest. We were going forward with the name Teams Fest, and funny enough, Vesku, I think, first started using the term when we started to organise Oktoberfest last year, and we're going to bring together somewhere in the region of about 35 speakers, I think, this time around. There's going to be maybe an additional track, but it was a great time for Oktoberfest. I know that the European Teams user group, that came out of the group. There's been a lot of demand for it, so we've decided to do another one. What are your guys' kind of expectations? Like, is it? I mean, obviously, it's something to really look forward to that we're putting in place this year. I'm going to ask Adam Vesku, what is it you're going to expect to see? But before I do that, I'm going to ask Chris Webb, right here live. Are you going to be submitting a session this year, Chris? We haven't seen one from you so far.
Yeah, I'll come up with something. I've been out of town until just last night, so I haven't had a chance to really sit down and see what was going on with that. So, but yeah.
So do you want a slot in the beginning of the Teams Fest, or should we put you in at the end?
I don't know. I gotta look at the timing. So
yeah. That there's a time zone. If it's what was that 9 a.m. GMT or 11? What is the starting time?
I think it's 6 hours difference for the UK where you are, Chris, right?
7, I think.
Is it 7?
Oh, from UK, it's 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7, something like that. Depends on time of year.
Yeah, and our first session started at what time? 9.
By then we got daylight savings and stuff, so I don't know how that works in between the time zones. So.
Absolutely. So guys, what are your expectations on it? I mean, are you? It's something we're obviously all looking forward to, but what would you like to see this time around?
I mean, just another set of great content and great speakers, I guess. We'll have more sessions this time around, and that means more great content and more great speakers and more opportunities for people to speak, actually. So, I just expect this to be as Oktoberfest, but better, with more content, more speakers, and more work to do with me uploading all the sessions on YouTube.
Vesku, what would you like to see this time around? I know one of the things that you're passionate about is bringing through new speakers, because I think that we all have trouble. I mean, we all had to start somewhere, right? But we know how competitive sometimes it is to get into some of these other events, and it's hard when you're new and you first start, thinking about speaking, getting a platform with which to do so.
Yeah, that's of course one part. One part is that now we have I've soon had my first year as MVP, so there's of course more connections and more network, knowing more people. We also saw lots of people at Ignite, so hopefully that will attract some of the cool names to our Teams Fest as well. But besides that, of course, I really look forward for more discussion as well, like getting more interactive and more kind of community style as well. Having people, it's not about the traditional as one person is speaking and everybody else is listening, but hopefully people are using chat a lot as well, and to kind of have it a bit more interactive team, like community-wise.
We can do it on conference.
Yeah, of course. Let's take Chris Webb to that.
I mean, of course, like growing the audience as well, because we want to reach out to as many people as possible, of course. So that's an also thing I want to do.
I think there's some opportunity there as far as unconference, even with the user group. Because one thing I know that I miss from my user group here in DFW that we used to have face to face was the interaction with the community, you know, versus doing speaking and just doing presentations. Actually have like breakout IT sessions where people sit and ask questions, talk about stuff similar to like we have in tech community, but live. When I used to do the Teams Tuesday calls every week, we had people show up all the time answering questions or asking questions, and they kept coming back because they kept learning a lot of stuff from those questions. So I think audience and community participation in some of these things could be of value as well, not just speaking and showing stuff, but some kind of breakout sessions that involve people that show up. So.
Okay, I've only got like kind of 3 more questions to go, so I think we can do this in the next 10 minutes because I know that we all got a call at 5. So the first question I'm going to ask you 3, and I'll just ask to keep the answers as economical as possible. The first is that for somebody who is going to apply for Teamsfest, what a piece of advice would you give them? Chris, I'm going to start off with you, and then I'm going to go to Vesku, then I'm going to go to Adam. So anyone, whether it is that they're worried about submitting or they're taking their first step, what guidance would and piece of wisdom would you offer them?
As far as session submissions?
Yeah, just as far as, you know, you have somebody that's thinking, I want to kind of maybe speak at, you know, kind of online, and it could be their first time, or they could not have as experienced as others. What would you say to them?
Just be yourself. Don't be scared to just get online and just pretend like you're talking to your buds, you know, just come up with a good content, a good plan. Like I said, try to just come up with something that you think's unique that people might say, oh, that's cool, or they may not know about, and then just do it. I mean, just like Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Vesku, what about you?
Yeah,
for somebody thinking about something?
Yeah, that's really true that there are always attendees who haven't heard or about everything, they don't know about everything. So even things that feel pretty simple are kind of can be really good topics. One of the advice is if you are thinking about a topic and you don't really know, then you can reach out to us. So you can we can help you with that if that's the case. Yeah, you can send us a message in Twitter and we can see if there's something that we can do about or try to guide you to a certain direction, or if you are uncertain about something, then just reach out and ask. This is about community. This is not the kind of a very strict format way in that sense.
Yeah,
and of course, yeah, we want to see new people. So just it's a community, like community style. Just talk to the friends, or well, you are not seeing them, but yeah, it's a really easy start.
Brilliant. Adam?
Yeah, I mean, to quote Chris, you just do it. I mean, there's no judgment on your speaking skills, language barriers, or that you aren't the best of what you do. As long as there's passion and an interest to tell people about something in Microsoft Teams or what you're doing, or any kind of experience you have using it. I mean, you're in. I mean, just reach out to any of us to do a monthly to speak in one of our monthly meets, or submit to Teamsfest. And I mean, one of the main objectives of this user group is actually to give people like this the opportunity to do this kind of speaking. So just do it.
And as a follow-up to that, you don't have to be a techie. No. You can come and talk about your experiences, or how your organization is rolling out Teams, how you are using it, what's kind of your experience in that. You can be basically an end user if you want to participate.
Yeah. You know, that's such an important point, because, you know, people often ask and they feel under pressure and they don't submit themselves because they think that they have to have something new, something kind of bleeding edge, that they have to kind of almost give, you know, and bring to the party. Whereas I found some of the best ones to be just their insights on a given topic, because they have perspectives that I've never ever thought about on certain subjects. I mean, I watched one the other day. I think it was Matt Wade's article on private channels. I read that, and it was just such a different perspective that I found refreshing on it. So yeah, absolutely, and we're going to see some good submissions from it. We've already got some, but we're going to see a lot for sure. So the last two questions. The first one is one of the things at Ignite. You know that I'm an MCT. You know how passionate I am about these things. MS 700. Are you going to take it this year? The Teams exam that came out before. Is it something you're going to go for? I mean, what do you think? And do you think it's going to be valuable in terms of doing the job that you do? There's no right or wrong answer on this. This isn't a thin question. We're going to start out with you, Adam, because you're swiveling in that chair. So.
No.
What do you think? What do you think? You're gonna go for the MS 700 this year?
This year is a little bit tight for that, I think. But next year, I've been thinking of taking it next year. Yes, for sure. I mean, I've taken plenty of exams before, but I have had like a 2 years break from exams right now, and I have plans to start taking new ones next year, and one of them is the MS 700. Yes.
Awesome, Vesku.
Well, I watch your session at Ignite, so I kind of feel I should, and in my new company I work for now, that there's of course that certification center. In there we are actually doing those certs, so I guess I should do that, and I hope I just find some time to prep for that. But it's kind of on the heavy wish list. Definitely, maybe.
Absolutely, Chris. Are you gonna find some time this year?
Yeah, I mean, we get the free exam from Ignite, so I was definitely gonna take a stab at that one just to see what it's all about. So I should go in there and master it, but of course, there's always those PowerShell questions that I don't use on a daily basis. So as long as that is less than 25%, I'm good.
Yeah, that's a good. Do you know what? I absolutely completely forgot. If you've been to Ignite this year, if you're going to Ignite the tool this year, stop off. You get a free exam. You know, we're going to try and say don't do it on any other exam. Choose the Teams exam, and again, we're all there to support if you need it. The final question, guys, because you know we're going to wrap up now, as I'm sure we're going to need a break before the 5 o'clock call. We all love Teams. I remember of us four getting the picture. I think when this goes up on social, we need to get that picture of Ignite in front of the community board as the picture of it. But what do you love about the Teams community? Okay, that's probably like, you know, the capping question, probably quite the most difficult question because it's so broad. Let's start with Chris. What do you love about the Teams community in particular?
Throwing me under the bus here. I don't know. I don't really have any one particular thing that I can really point out. It's just a accumulation of everything. I mean, just being able to reach out to someone when you have questions. Just everybody's really involved that I've noticed. Get on Twitter, there's just people posting everything and passionate about it. It's really kind of cool that I'm not the only person that way, you know, running into people that are just like me, that are passionate about it, like using it, like talking about it, you know, eat and sleep Teams, and get on the community and share that same knowledge, or try to learn, you know, from everybody else that's into it as well. So I mean, there's really no one thing. It's just an accumulation of everything to me. So
yeah. That's a really good answer. Vesku, are you going to follow up on that?
Of course. Yeah, and it's about people. It's about meeting new people, either online or in real life, as like I have met you guys. So that's the really thing about it. It's making new friends from the based on the subject we are so passionate about. So we are very passionate about Teams. So it's kind of a great sense to feel in that family in that sense, and so that's kind of the thing that's giving you back a lot, you are giving to the community. Of course, you're sharing things, you're creating things, showing the passion, but that's kind of something that's really personal in that sense as well. So you get to know people you wouldn't get to know otherwise.
That's awesome. And then I'll save my co-founder to last. Adam, what do you love about the Teams community?
Thank you. I mean, in short, it's a friendliness, helpfulness. You feel you really belong to a group of friends. I mean, we four all met in the community, and I mean a lot of other people as well. And I mean, it's not restricted to the Teams community. There's a lot of closely related product communities as well, related to Teams in some way. And I mean, they're just as close, and we are also like. We know these people as well, and we become friends. I mean, we meet at events like Microsoft Ignite, as we all did as well. So I mean, but I must say that the Teams community itself is something special. It really is.
Yeah, I've definitely met a lot of the Power Platform people that I hang out with often, and they got a good community knit group over there as well. I mean, a lot of the different communities are pretty much the same. It's just Microsoft communities in general, seems like.
Yeah, it's been totally awesome. I mean, I think when you meet people who are as passionate about and have the same drive as yourself, for anyone, watching, I met these guys on the Microsoft Tech community. We all do the Microsoft Tech community every day. It's almost like a gladiatorial ring. We go in there and sometimes we help, sometimes we pit our wits against each other, all in good fun and good gestures.
Hey,
we
Chris,
about it. What's that?
I gave you a like earlier for that post.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm still waiting to get one off Vassal if he's watching. That's like the dream. But yeah, I mean, since I got to the tech community and met you guys, and it's been exceptional. And I think when you have that amount of passionate people, great things can happen. This user group happened, Oktoberfest happened. We're going to have Teams Fest happen, and I'm sure we're all going to go on to have a great year. I'm going to probably call it time now. So the last thing, don't think you've escaped. What other things are you going to speak at this year? Just have you got an idea? Adam, we'll start with you very quick.
Yeah, I got 2 sessions at Ignite the Tour in Milan in January, and then I'm gonna do speak at it's not yet announced. It's a Teams event in Sweden in March, I think. And in April, it's London for this user group. Actually, is a community sponsor. So I think we're all going there and have a user group session at Comsverse. And also, I've sent in a lot of submissions as well for spring events and summer events. So I'll just keep my hope up for those.
It's going to be a busy year for you, Vesku.
For sure.
Yeah, my first face-to-face speaking is at the Scottish Summit at Glasgow in the last day of February. So that's going to be interesting. I will be talking about keeping your teams under control, basically controlling your team's noise. So that's going to be fun. And following in the week, just less than a week after that, there's going to be a Tech Days Finland session, and then that's going to be. I will be presenting with Carolina on the stage together, this time in Finnish, and let's see how we are going to get teams managed or rolled out in a managed way. And so we promised lots of humor in that session. Sadly, you guys won't be able to at least enjoy the fun because it's going to be Finnish. But trust me, it's going to be fun. But that's going to be my first time on stage with someone else. So that's a kind of interesting learning curve as well. And yeah, well, let's see what other sessions there's coming up, coming to reality after that. So I have submitted a few sessions as well in different places. So so that kind of cracked you up.
No, I'm laughing at Adam's chat post.
Okay.
If you haven't been on the community in the last day, you wouldn't probably get it. But
No.
And Chris, are you going to be? I mean, you said you're going to be going for Ignite next year. Is there any other session?
Yeah, I told myself I'm definitely submitting this year because I had my kid last year. That was my excuse, but no more excuses for me. So anytime that I see anything in drivable distance, I'm going to sign up for. I mean, I'm on a speaking warpath this year, so that's my goal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that kind of rounds everything up. I mean, it's been an exceptional year, I think for all of us, and I'm really looking for 2020. We'll be back, as we said, on the 21st of January. We're going to be about that's 15:30 UK time, where we'll kind of revert to our usual format, where we'll be having a few sessions, and then we'll go on a monthly basis. Teams Fest is on the 1st of April. Please apply and
Please submit.
Please submit. Yeah, I don't know where Adam's gone. He still can't get it. He freezed for a second, and then I think I know what they're talking about. I'm going to be checking it. I'm going to try and hold myself together here. In the meantime, have a lovely Christmas and a great New Year. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you again next year. Reach out to us if you have any questions. All we want to do really is help. And, come on, if you haven't already got it on the tech community, come join us. We'd love to have you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
See y'all at Summit.
Take care.